Namaskar students, welcome back to my another lecture which is on the filter circuit. So before going into discussing filter circuit, I would like to remind you what I have taught in my previous lecture. So if you go back to my previous lecture on rectifier circuit, so in case of rectifier, I have introduced that rectifier is one of the very basic electronic circuit of a power supply. So I have introduced the concept of power supply. So here I will again give a concept of power supply. So basically power supply is a electronic circuit which converts an AC signal into a DC signal. During the conversion of AC signal into a DC signal, we require several electronic circuits, and one is rectifier, which we have discussed in my previous lecture. Another important element of power supply is filter circuit, which we will discuss in the present lecture. But before starting the filter circuit, I want to give some basic concept, some basic motivation. Why do we require filter circuit in a power supply? So this is a basically block diagram with typical power supply: AC mains, primary and secondary transformer, rectifier and filter circuit, and then regulator, voltage regulation, and then output. So it means a power supply is consist of these elements: voltage regulation, a filter, and rectifier, and AC mains. So AC signal is basically a signal whose during 0 to T half cycle that was positive, and T half to T cycle that was negative signal. So if you take average of AC signal, that was complete 0, but for the case of DC signal, that signal which doesn't change its direction with respect to time, so that is DC signal. That means DC signal is a constant signal. If it is voltage, the constant voltage. If it is a current, the constant voltage. So that is basically DC signal. So if you remember the few output of a rectifier, so output of a rectifier I have discussed that half wave rectifier output, that is basically 0 to T half. We get during this we get maximum voltage, and then 0, and then there is no signal, again T to 3T by 2 maximum and minimum. So there is variation basically 0 to T4, that is maximum, T4 to T variation. But the one thing we have concluded that that half wave rectifier or rectifier is a unidirectional. Though and one important parameter we have discussed to measure that how much AC part is content in a rectifier, so that was ripple factor. So we have calculated in case of half wave rectifier that ripple factor is equal to 1.21, or if you find out the percentage, so that will be 121%. And similarly for full wave rectifier, if you see, so basically we rectify a full signal, and here we rectify the half signal. That is why this was known as the half wave, and this is known as the full wave. And again this output of full wave is unidirectional, but if you see the magnitude and direction of the output of a full wave rectifier, that is changing. So here 0 to maximum, maximum to 0, 0 to maximum, maximum to 0, 0 to maximum, maximum to 0. And the ripple factor of full wave rectifier, that was 0.48. And what is the meaning of ripple factor? I have explained the concept. That means the Ripple factor means that ratio of AC signal to the DC signal, and this number tells that the half-wave rectifier contains more AC signal than the DC signal, or we can say half-wave rectifier gives whatever output signal gives, that has a more variation in output. And similarly, if you see the ripple factor of full wave, that is 0.48, that means 48% AC signal is in the output of a full wave rectifier, and remaining part, that is 52%, that is DC part. That means still if you see the output of a full wave rectifier, that is unidirectional, but still there is a variation in the output. It means there is some ripple, 48% ripple is there in the output, and the motivation is that we want to reduce this variation in the output, or we want to reduce this value of ripple factor whatever we are getting in the output. So how one can reduce this variation in the output? Because in case of DC signal, what we want there should be zero, we want zero variation, there should be no variation. Means your signal, whether it's current or voltage, that should be constant with respect to time. But from rectifier output, what we are getting variation. How much? That is 58% variation we are getting. So in order to remove the variation which are present in the output of rectifier, we require another circuit. That circuit is known as the filter circuit. So that is why here in case of block diagram of a power supply, if you see the output of a rectifier, this is output of rectifier, that is fed as the input of a filter circuit. So output of a rectifier is work as a input of a filter circuit. So when after passing through the filter circuit, we will learn that the variation will be minimized. Okay, then we can get a constant DC output from a power supply. So there are four type of filter circuit. First one is the series inductor filter. Basically first one is the shunt capacitor filter, and then series inductor filter. So first one is a shunt capacitor filter, and then series inductor filter, and then L section filter, and then pi section filter. So these are the filter which we have to study. Out of these four filter circuit, in your syllabus only shunt capacitor filter circuit is mentioned, and remaining three filter circuit is not mentioned. But I feel it is important to learn series inductor and L section and pi section. So I will give a primary glimpses, a primary feeling on L section or LC filter circuit and pi section filter circuit. But I will discuss in detail about the shunt capacitor filter and series filter circuit, because these two filter circuit are very basic to understand the how one can minimize the variation in a given signal. So in order to understand how one can make, why do we require shunt capacitor filter, why do we require series inductor filter? So in order to understand that, we have to understand that if you see the output of a full wave rectifier, that is unidirectional, but that is changing with respect to time, that there is variation. If it is a voltage, then we require some circuit, we require something which can minimize this variation. Okay, and whatever we require, something that should be connected in series to remove the variation from the rectifier. So this variation can be minimized by using a capacitor. Okay, so this variation can be variation in the voltage can be minimized by using a capacitor in parallel with a load resistance. Okay, so a parallel combination of capacitor with respect to load resistance is known as a shunting of a capacitor, a shunt capacitor. So that is why the name of the filter circuit comes, that is shunt capacitor filter circuit. Okay, so this circuit diagram is very simple. You take a capacitor and you take a load resistance, and if you connect this capacitor in parallel with the load resistance, then whatever circuit comes, that is known as the shunt capacitor filter circuit. And this is the input of shunt capacitor filter, and this is the output of a filter. Okay, so output is measured across the load resistance and input is given across the capacitor. So as I discussed, this input of the filter will be obviously a output from a full wave rectifier. So that is why I have taken output of a full wave rectifier, which is working, which is acting as an input for the filter circuit. And the shunt capacitor filter circuit, if you apply this input, so you will get this output. So this solid line, so this solid black line, that shows the output of a shunt capacitor filter circuit, and this dotted line shows the input signal. So this I have plotted this input, this output with respect to input, just to make clear how much variation we are removing. So if you see, so we have removed this much variation. So this much variations we have removed. Only we are getting this output, solid line. So in order to understand the working principle of shunt capacitor filter circuit, we can understand by two mechanisms. One principle is charging and discharging a capacitor, and another mechanism is the resistance offered by the capacitor. So let us try to understand charging and discharging a capacitor first. So if we apply an input signal, so input signal is basically changing with respect to time. There is variation, increasing, decreasing, increasing, decreasing. So initially when you apply input signal, so your capacitor is discharged. Okay, so you are at zero signal input. Now as soon as your input signal increases, so if you see here, as soon as your input signal increases, current will pass through the load resistance. So output signal will also increase accordingly. So it is also increasing. Okay, as I said, initially capacitor was discharged, it was not charged. So when current is flowing through the resistance, at the same time this capacitor is getting charged also, and it will charge up to the applied voltage. Okay, till the input signal reached maximum value. So when you reach input maximum value, your capacitor is fully charged and you are getting some output, okay, across the load resistance. Now when input signal decreases from maximum to 0, then what will happen? This capacitor will try to maintain a constant voltage. It will try to maintain a constant current and consequently constant voltage across the load resistance. And how it will try to maintain? Because this input signal is decreasing and reaching to 0, then this capacitor, which was fully charged, okay, it will try to discharge through the resistor, and it will give a constant current across the load resistance. It will try to give a constant current across the load resistance. So this was charging, and when input signal is decreasing, the capacitor is discharging. And again after t-half time, again your input signal will start increasing. So again your capacitor will charge. So it will charge up to the input signal reach maximum. So it is charged. Again when input signal will decrease, capacitor will discharge. So charging, discharging, charging, discharging, charging, discharging. So through this mechanism, this capacitor will try to maintain a constant voltage across the load resistance. So this is one principle. Another principle is resistance offered by the capacitor. So we know that the capacitive reactance value, resistance offered by the capacitor is equal to Xc. So this Xc is equal to 1 upon omega c, where omega is the frequency of the input signal, applied input signal. Okay. So we can write X is equal to 1 upon 2 pi Fc, and this where F is the frequency and C is the value of capacitance. And we know that for AC signal, frequency is high. We know that AC signal have some frequency, and DC signal that is constant, we know that frequency is 0. Okay. So let us assume that for AC signal, frequency is maximum. Let us say that is some infinite value. Okay. For AC signal, frequency have some infinite value, and for DC signal, frequency has 0 value. We know what we require for DC signal, there is no frequency, that is constant. So for DC signal, frequency is 0 or minimum. Let us say 0. So if we analyze for these two signal, for AC signal, for DC signal, what will be the value of resistance which is offered by the capacitance, that is reactive capacitive reactance, then we can get some idea how this shunt capacitor filter circuit works. So as I have discussed, in case of filters, in case of rectifier, that the output of a full wave rectifier, that is basically contains, that is superimposition of two parts, that is AC part plus DC part, because as I discussed earlier, that this means that 48% ripple factor means 48% AC is there in this signal, whatever signal unidirectional signal we are getting in this signal, 48% AC we have and 52% DC we have. That means if this signal is applied across the filter circuit, so AC signal and DC signal, both signal will be applied at the input of the shunt capacitor filter. So that is why I have taken two cases. For AC signal, I am analyzing how much, what will be the value of Xc, and for DC signal, what will be the value of Xc. So for AC signal, frequency is maximum, let us say infinity. So if you substitute X is equal to 1 upon 0, so that will give the 1 upon infinity, so that is X is equal to 0. So for AC signal, if you calculate the value of Xc, so that will be minimum, or that is equal to 0. If it is infinity, it will be 0. And similarly for DC signal, if you substitute F is equal to 0 here, so 1 upon 0, that is X is equal to infinity. That means for AC signal, the value of X is equal to 0, a minimum, and for DC signal, value of Xc is maximum or infinite. What does it mean? It means that this capacitor, which is shunted with respect to load resistance, this capacitor offers 0 resistance for the AC signal. 0 resistance, X is equal to 0 or minimum. So 0 resistance for the AC signal, and the same capacitor offers infinite or maximum resistance for the DC signal. Okay, I hope you understood. Now when this input signal we have applied here, so this signal is combination of AC plus DC, so both signal will appear across the capacitor. So this capacitor will allow to pass only AC signal because it is offering 0 resistance for AC, and it will not allow to pass DC signal through the capacitor, so it will block the DC signal here. So all AC, whatever AC signal contained in the input, all AC signal will pass through the capacitor, or it will bypass through the capacitor, and it will be grounded. Okay, so it will not appear across the load resistance, and whatever DC signal was stopped or blocked by the capacitor, that will appear across the load resistance, and therefore a minimum variations can be observed from a shunt capacitor filter circuit. So if you try to write the ripple factor of a shunt capacitor filter circuit, so this will be equal to R is equal to pi Xc divided by under root 3 divided by RL, where RL is the value of load resistance, Xc is the value of resistance offered by the capacitance. Okay. Or we can write, if you substitute the value of xc, that is 1 upon 2 pi fc. I think this should be 2. So it will be 1 upon 2 under root 3 fc RL. So here it is written 4. It should be 2. Okay. Because this 2 and this 2 will come. This pi and this pi will be cancelled out. So it should be 1 upon 2 under root 3 fc RL. So if you see, so this ripple factor is inversely proportional to load resistance. This is inversely proportional to capacitance. Okay. So, and inversely proportional to the frequency. And what we require, what we want from a filter, we want minimum ripple factor from a filter. Okay. So that means in order to get a minimum variation from a filter, R should be minimum, R will be, this ripple factor will be minimum when this load resistance will be maximum. Okay. And similarly, R will be minimum, small r, that ripple factor will be minimum when C capacitance will be maximum. Okay. It means in order to get a minimum variation from a shunt capacitor filter circuit, we have to use very large value of capacitance and large value of load resistance. Then we can get minimum ripple factor from a shunt capacitor filter circuit. Or let us try to analyze more. For a fixed value of load resistance, what should be the value of capacitance? Obviously, if you fix the value of load resistance, the capacitance value should be very, very high. Then we can get the minimum ripple factor. And similarly, for a fixed value of capacitance, in order to get minimum ripple factor, we have to use very high value of load resistance. Okay. Or it may be also asked to you when one can use shunt capacitor filter circuit. So you can see, for the case of shunt capacitor filter circuit, ripple factor should be minimum. In order to obtain minimum ripple factor, load resistance should be very high. That means shunt capacitor filter circuit can be used when the load resistance is very large or very high. So this is the working principle and few basic concepts of the shunt capacitor filter circuit. Now let us try to understand the series inductor filter circuit. So if your full wave rectifier output have current and that current is changing with respect to time, if you see, so this is maximum current, minimum current, maximum current, minimum current, but this current is unidirectional. Here what we have used, here it was signal was, here input signal was voltage and here input signal is current. So if you see there is variation in the current in the input signal, so in order to reduce this variation, what we require? We require some circuit which can minimize the variation. Then what can minimize the variation? Then inductor in series with the load resistance that can fulfill our requirement. So if you take an inductor and connect this inductor in series with the load resistance, inductor and series with the load resistance, then this circuit is known as a series inductor. Inductor connected in series with the load resistance, that is why this is known as a series inductor filter circuit. Okay. If you apply this input, so you will get this solid line. Whatever this solid line I have drawn, this solid line is basically actual output which we are obtaining from the series filter circuit. Okay. So again, the working principle of series inductor filter circuit can be understood by two principles. First is the Lenz law and second is the resistance offered by the inductor. So Lenz law, we know that inductor has a property by Lenz law that each opposes the current. If the current is increasing, it will, a induced EMF will be generated within the inductor which will oppose the increase of current, and if the current will be decreasing, again the direction of EMF will change and it will oppose the decrease of current, so it will try to increase the currents, which is known as the Lenz law. So when the load current, okay, increases, the induced voltage across the inductor, when the load current increases, the induced voltage, because of the EMF property, the induced voltage across the inductor opposes the increase because of its polarity, which is developed such that it sends an induced current in opposite direction. Okay, by Lenz law. So it will try to decrease the current across the load resistance. Similarly, let us say when the load current across the load, that is, decreases, then the polarity of the induced voltage across the inductor, that will reverse in such a way that it will try to oppose the decrease of current across the load resistance. So the variations in the output signal, that will be minimized. Okay, so here if you try to understand the, this is input signal and then this is output signal. So output signal I have drawn input signal, this circular dotted, that is input signal. Okay, this signal, and the dashed dotted line, that is the induced EMF generated into the inductor, and this solid line, that is basically actual output what we are getting from the load resistance. So as we know, when we are applying the input signal, so when the current is increasing, so the EMF will be generated within the inductor, and this induced EMF, induced voltage, will oppose the current. So that is why this is actual current, and this is the this current, magnitude of this current is less than the actual current. So that is why, because of the opposite polarity of the voltage, this is developed across the inductor. So this is also increasing initially, and when the input signal is maximum, obviously the current should be minimum. This is the initial stage. So it is proportionally, initially it is proportionally increasing. Now this input signal is decreasing, then what will happen? Inductor will oppose the decrease of this current. So this output current, that will be keep increasing because of the opposite polarity which is developed across the inductor. So it will increase, and this current will be maximum when the input current will be minimum. So this minimum input current is minimum, the output is maximum, and this dotted line, if you see, that is the current across the inductor. And again, when the input signal is increasing, so this current across the inductor, that will decrease, and when input current is maximum, it will be minimum. So it is minimum. Okay, but at the same time, when this input current is decreasing, again opposite polarity of EMF is generated within the inductor, so it will try to maintain a current flow. So actual net current across the load resistance, so that will be not, it will not go to zero, it will again stop reaching, it will again start increasing. So in this way, by changing the polarity of the EMF within the inductor, so inductor will try to maintain a constant output current across the load resistance. Okay, so this is the first principle. So let us try to understand the second principle. We know that inductor offer a resistance, so that is known as the inductive reactance. So that is equal to XL. Inductive reactance is equal to XL. The XL is equal to omega into L, where omega is the angular frequency and L is the value of inductor. Or it can be written as 2 pi FL, where F is the frequency of the signal, applied signal, and L is the value of inductors. Now if you analyze this resistance offered by the inductor, that is inductive reactance, with respect to frequency, where this frequency is the input signal, and we know that this input signal is basically consist of two signal. One is the DC signal and AC signal. 48% AC we have and 52% DC we have, and we want to minimize this remaining 48% AC from the output. So let us say for AC signal, their AC signal has some frequency. Let us say that is maximum frequency, or let us say that value is infinity. Let us say some infinite value is there. So when for AC signal frequency will be infinite, then if you substitute the infinite here, so XL will be infinite. So it means if frequency is maximum for AC signal, so resistance offered by the inductor for AC signal, that is maximum. Similarly for DC signal, if you see, for DC signal frequency is 0 minimum, so XL will be also 0. What does it mean? It means that for a AC signal, this inductor offers infinite resistance, therefore it will not allow to pass an AC signal from the inductor, and the same inductor will offer 0 resistance for the DC signal, so it will allow to pass the DC signal. Infinite resistance means that particular signal will not pass. 0 resistance means that particular signal will pass. Okay. So therefore, when you apply this input signal, so this signal contains AC plus DC both. So AC signal will be stopped or blocked by the inductor. Okay. Here it will stop only here. It will not allow to pass AC signal, and it will allow only to pass DC signal. So only DC signal will pass, and whatever output you will observe across the load resistance, that will be very less variation in the output. And if you try to measure the variation of the series inductor filter, so that can be measured in terms of ripple factor. So ripple factor can be written as 2 divided by 3 under root 2 RL upon XL, where RL is the load resistance, XL is the resistance offered by the inductor. And if you write, so ripple factor is proportional to load resistance, and it is inversely proportional to 1 upon XL, or it is inversely proportional to value of inductance. Okay. So it means that, what does it mean? It means that in order, what we require, we want minimum ripple factor. We want minimum variation. In order to get minimum variation in the output, in order to get minimum ripple factor in the output, the value of load resistance should be minimum. And similarly, value of inductor should be very high. If L will be very high, then R will be very less. Okay. It means in order to make series inductor filter circuit, we require a very high value of inductance and very low value of load resistance. Okay. So when we can use series inductor filter circuit, we know that series inductor filter circuit can be used when the load resistance should be minimum. Load resistance should be very small. When the load resistance is very small, then we can get minimum ripple factor. Then one can use series inductor filter circuit. So this is all about the series inductor filter circuit. So let us try to understand few more filter circuit, which are known as the practical filter circuit. And in this is not part of your syllabus, but I am giving just a few introductory feeling. So this is known as the L section filter circuit, and this is known as the pi section filter circuit. So in L section filter circuit, if you connect an inductor and capacitor, if you connect in a L shape with a load resistance, okay, so inductor is connected in series with load resistance, capacitor is connected in parallel with load resistance, but the combination of inductor and capacitor, that should be a L shape. Okay, so this circuit is known as the L section filter circuit. L section filter circuit. Working principle remains same as I have discussed separately for the case of shunt capacitor and series inductor filter circuit. So inductor will offer infinite resistance for the AC signal. It will not allow AC signal. It will stop AC signal here, and it will offer DC 0 resistance for DC signal. So DC signal will pass. Okay. So if let us say whatever still variation is there after passing through the inductor, so variation means AC signal. So this capacitor offers 0 resistance for the AC signal. So AC signal will bypass and it will be grounded. So if capacitor will stop all DC signal, so DC signal will appear across the load resistance. So whatever output you will get, that will be minimum variations and minimum ripple. Okay. So this variations in the L section filter circuit can be measured. They can be written ripple factor R is equal to under root 2 divided by 3 reactance offered by the capacitance and reactance offered by the inductor. So that is Xc upon Xl. So this formula is valid when we are using single L section. Here we are using only one L, one inductor, one capacitance, one L shape. L shape. One can use so many multi L section, means if you connect another capacitor, inductor, 2 L shape, 3 L shape, 4 L shape, 5 L shape, then that is known as the multi L section filter. In case of multi L section, let us say, then formula remains same, only just you multiply the C1, L1, C2, L2, C3, L3. So XC1 divided by XL1, XC2 divided by XL2. Similarly, XCN, XLN. That is multi L section. Multi L section give more smooth output, but still there is some variation because we are getting some ripple factor. Similarly, another practical filter circuit is, and one important point in L section filter circuit is that if you see the ripple factor, here ripple factor is independent of the load resistance. Remember, there is no load resistance. It means the output of a L section filter circuit that is independent of the load resistance. Another filter circuit, that is pi. If you take two capacitor and one inductor and you connect these capacitor in pi combination, so if you say this is making a pi shape, so that is why this is known as the pi section filter circuit. Working principle remains same, that is resistance offered by capacitor and inductor. So most of the AC signal will be bypassed through this C1 and it will block DC signal. So here if some variation is there, so this signal will apply across the inductor, so it will allow only DC and it will stop AC. So here you get some signal. If still variation is there, then all AC signal will bypass and only DC signal will appear across the load resistance. In order to measure the variation, one can write the value of ripple factor. The ripple factor is equal to pi divided by 3 under root 2 upon 3. XC1, resistance offered by the first capacitance, multiplied by resistance offered by the second capacitance, XC1 into XC2 divided by resistance offered by the inductor, XL, and the load resistance. Here if you see, ripple factor is inversely proportional to the load resistance. That means the ripple factor of pi section filter is not independent of load resistance, but the ripple factor of L section is independent of load resistance. So this is all about, I have explained the filter circuit. Okay. So in filter circuit, I have explained, I have started from the very basic. I have started from the block diagram of typical power supply. In a typical power supply, rectifier, filter, regulator. So I have already discussed the rectifier. Then today I have discussed the filter circuit. Then in next class I will discuss the regulator. Okay. And motivation behind the filter circuit I have discussed. So I request you all kindly go through the lecture and try to understand the basic mechanism, basic concept and working principle of shunt capacitor filter circuit. Okay. And series filter circuit. If you understand shunt capacitor in series, then there should be no doubt in understanding the L section and pi section filter, because the working principle of L section and pi section filter remains same like a shunt capacitor, okay, and series inductor filter circuit. With this, I thank you very much to all of you for listening me carefully, and I humbly again request you all, please go through my all video lectures thoroughly and carefully. If you feel any difficulty at any point, please call me on my cell phone, or you can write me email, or you can write me on WhatsApp. It will be nice if you can call me and I can make clear your doubt on phone. If you further have some doubt, then we can contact again and again I can clear doubts. So with these words, I thanks again. Thank you very much.